Hey, everybody, and to any viewers out there who practice Judaism or are from Israel, Shalom, and happy first day of Passover. I'm really excited to be talking about this movie because Prince of Egypt is one of my personal favorite DreamWorks animated movies, right up there with Shrek. So, yeah, just want to say happy Passover. And also, Prince of Egypt is currently available to stream on the platforms that are currently available. Of course, if you're old fashioned like me, you can also watch Prince of Egypt on DVD or Blu-ray or a VHS. And of course, you can probably play this intro while the Universal logo is being played. It's so weird seeing the modern Universal logo play over the DreamWorks logo. Isn't that just weird? Well, anyway, you know where to stream. You know where to purchase the DVD in the comments and in the description. But anyway, hope you enjoy this commentary of the Prince of Egypt. Anyway, enjoy the show. Welcome to Commentary Companions. I'm your host, Tony Garcia, and today, in honor of the first day of Passover, or the second, depending on when you're watching this, I am doing a commentary for The Prince of Egypt, released in 1998 and was the official second movie of DreamWorks Animation. Let me tell ya, this film has one heck of a backstory with all sorts of interesting behind-the-scenes stuff and the personal impact that I feel upon it. Now, I remember when they promoted Prince of Egypt. Well, I remember seeing trailers of it and mentioning of it in various DreamWorks animated movies, but I didn't really. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I didn't watch Prince of Egypt until I was in middle school. No joke. I actually remember it quite fondly. You see, when I was in middle school, my class, specifically in history class, was tasked with doing history on ancient Egypt, and our teacher decided to play Prince of Egypt for us to take notes on in order to study anything about Prince of Egypt, ancient Egypt in general. And it took me a few minutes to realize, oh, wait a minute. This is a retelling of Moses from the Bible. Well, this should be interesting. And let me tell you, watching this, I was a changed man because, the one DreamWorks film I was in favor of was, of course, Shrek and stuff like Shark Tale. And I had never seen a film like Prince of Egypt. And, I have to give DreamWorks Animation credit. When it comes to their animation, they have so much variety, unlike Pixar. I mean, they're more than just a CG company. They have done various forms of animation. They've done, like traditional animation, stop-motion clay animation. I love the variety of DreamWorks. And let me tell you something, now, Jeffrey Katzenberg, who was one of the co-founders of DreamWorks Animation alongside Steven Spielberg and David Geffen, he had been wanting to do a retelling of the story of Moses even back when he was working for the Walt Disney Company. He had been pitching this idea to Mike Eisner, Disney's CEO at the time, about doing a Ten Commandments movie, but Mike Eisner was like, nah, I don't want to. And, well, it's a funny coincidence because I'm recording this a day after I watched Not Just a Goof, the documentary. And, well, yes, they depict Jeffrey Katzenberg in a not-so-positive light for legit reasons, because, like I said in my commentary of A Goofy Movie, I mentioned how a lot of the interference that he tried doing to A Goofy Movie, and yet, ironically, he was also kind of the backer for A Goofy Movie, who was the main investor in a way, who made A Goofy Movie possible. And, Disney just saw it as an obligation to release. They just didn't give two yucks about A Goofy Movie. And, and now I'm kind of confused on what happened with the fallout between Disney and Jeffrey Katzenberg. I mean, one side says he got fired, and another side says he resigned from Disney. I mean, what is it, Disney? Did he get fired, or did he quit? Or did he kind of get fired, or did he kind of get quit? Either way, Jeffrey Katzenberg left Disney, and
with Spielberg and Jeffen, he co-founded DreamWorks SKG. And there were three divisions for DreamWorks. There was the live-action division that Steven Spielberg was mainly involved with. And there was the music division that David Jeffen was involved with, often releasing records, including some comedy albums. Like DreamWorks albums literally released the album to Chris Rock's Bigger and Blacker. I'm not kidding. It's funny. And, Katzenberg was mainly involved with DreamWorks Animation. And one day it's said that Steven Spielberg, Jeffrey Katzenberg, and David Jeffen were at a meeting at his house, and Spielberg encouraged Jeffrey Katzenberg to do a Ten Commandments movie. And so that became one of the beginning projects for DreamWorks Animation. Now, the voice of Moses' mother, Yocheved, I hope I said that right, Yocheved, is voiced by Ofra Hazah. Now, Ofra Hazah was a singer from Israel. She was a songwriter, and she was pretty much basically the Madonna of the East, or the Israeli Madonna. Her voice has been described as a tender mezzo-soprano. And here's a cool fact. The late Ofra Hazah was recorded Deliver Us in 17 languages. Now, isn't that amazing? It is sad how she died from AIDS at such a young age. She was also she made regular appearances on MTV. I mean, it is sad how she died due to an age-related illness. So, rest in peace, Ofra Hazah. I mean, if you were alive today, I'm sure you'd have more songs to sing, and you'd be making much more of an impact. And of course, she had such a beautiful voice. Now, I guess I could talk about the people behind the animation. I mean, this is pretty cool because the roots of DreamWorks Animation comes from a British animation studio known as Amblimation, which was the animation department of Amblin Entertainment, Steven Spielberg's company. Amblimation was basically a crew of 250 animators that had worked on Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and Amblimation so far only produced 3 movies, but they were this close to doing an adaptation of the Andrew Lloyd Webber musical Cats. I mean, we were this close, but it never happened. But so far, the only 3 animated movies that Amblimation worked on were An American Tail, Fievel Goes West, We're Back, A Dinosaur Story, and Balto, which were all distributed by Universal. Which is funny because now, to this day, Universal owns DreamWorks. But after Amblimation went bust in '97, they all moved to DreamWorks Animation. And a lot of these people even found a way to transition into animation, into CG animation. And let me tell you also, how about I tell you a key difference from the Bible to, this movie. Now, yes, it's like the Pharaoh's wife is the one who discovers Moses and adopts him, but it was actually the Pharaoh's daughter who found Moses in the basket. That's a major difference, but I think it works story-wise. Now, Prince of Egypt was directed by 3 people. Now, the first director is Simon Wells, who was an employee for Amblimation, and he directed Fievel Goes West and Balto. And other things he worked on he was a story artist for various DreamWorks movies, including Kung Fu Panda, and he also did additional story art for DreamWorks' first film, Ants, and he was one of the supervising animator for Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and was a digital visual concept consultant for The Polar Express. Now, Simon Wells is the great-grandson of science fiction author H.G. Wells, and in a full circle moment, Simon Wells ended up directing a 2002 adaptation of The Time Machine, based on the novel written by H.G. Wells. And Prince of Egypt was also co-directed by Steve Hickner, and 9 years later, Hickner would end up directing a B movie starring Jerry Seinfeld. He was also a producer for Balto and did storyboard art for the Shrek sequels. And the final director was Brenda Chapman, and Brenda Chapman used to work for Disney, and that's how Jeffrey Katzenberg knew Brenda from her work with Disney. And she worked on Beauty and the Beast and The Lion King, and when she left Disney briefly for DreamWorks, Jeffrey Katzenberg ended up hiring Chapman to co-direct Prince of Egypt, and this became a big deal as Brenda Chapman became the first woman to ever co-direct an animated movie from a major studio like DreamWorks. And 14 years later, she ended up working for Pixar, and she ended up co-directing Brave, and she ended up becoming the first woman to ever win an Oscar for Best Animated Feature. Brenda Chapman's quite a game changer, and she deserves to be acknowledged a lot more. And, by an even crazier coincidence, she's also the wife of Goofy movie director Kevin Lima. Now, what were the odds of that? I mean, it kind of makes sense. I mean, they knew each other at Disney, so of course they'd fall in love and get married. Now, isn't that just sweet? I mean, just a family of animation bigwigs. I mean, it's even cooler because, I love Tarzan, and I love Goofy movie, I love Prince of Egypt, and it's like Brenda Chapman's a very good director. And you'll find she has much more talent up her sleeves. Now, the story was concepted by Lorna Cook and the late Kelly Asbury. And I know who Kelly Asbury was. He was other things that Kelly Asbury directed until his untimely death in 2020 was, he directed Spirits, Die Under the Cimarron. He co-directed Shrek 2 with Andrew Adamson, Romeo and Juliet, and Smurfs: The Lost Village and Ugly Dolls. I have not watched Smurfs: The Lost Village or Ugly Dolls, and I don't think I will. I don't mean to be mean, but, I just don't care for those. And the script was written by Philip Lazibnik, and he's been a screenwriter for various animated movies. He was the scriptwriter for Pocahontas, Mulan, and The Road to El Dorado, amongst many others. He even wrote 2 episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation and 1 episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Pretty funny because he's also a certain Star Trek actor is the voice of SETI, that actor being Patrick Stewart. Pretty recognizable voice. Oh yeah, and I last heard Patrick Stewart's voice in my commentary companions for X-Men, the first one. Please do check that out while you still can. Oh, it's still going to be on YouTube, of course, but please do. But yeah, DreamWorks employed artists who had worked for Walt Disney and Animation and Amblimation, totaling a crew of 350 people from 34 countries. And this was a passion project for Jeffrey Katzenberg. He really wanted this to be like the magnum opus for DreamWorks Animation. So much so that, it is upon legend that if anyone screwed up on Prince of Egypt, Jeffrey Katzenberg would punish those animators by forcing them to work on the ugly stepchild of the animated movies, Shrek. I know it sounds crazy to imagine Shrek being a project nobody wanted to work on, but it is true, my believers. Nobody wanted to work on Shrek. Katzenberg saw Shrek as like the equivalent to an animation gulag, and all the Prince of Egypt animators that screwed up ended up, just being, and I quote, getting Shreked. Which is funny because one of the animators for I do recognize one of the animators that worked on Prince of Egypt, who would also work on Shrek. That one being Tom Cito, and Tom Cito has worked on various other stuff. Just looking him up right now. But yeah, Tom Cito has worked on TV projects like Super Friends for Hanna-Barbera, He-Man and a Masters of the Universe and Fat Albert for Filmation, and he also animated for Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and he contributed to many of the animated movies for Disney from the Disney Renaissance, such as Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, and the Lion King, Pocahontas, Fantasia 2000, and Dinosaur. And he also co-directed the animation for Osmosis Jones and contributed to the animation for Looney Tunes Back in Action. Also, well, one of the character designers for Prince of Egypt, also worked on many Illumination movies, such as Despicable Me and the other Illumination films that I can't really think of right now, but I guess it'll come back to me. Now, Katzenberg really wanted this to be the first animated DreamWorks film to be released in theaters. But of course, with competition with Mulan, that was kind of impossible, and due to scheduling screw-ups and, A Bug's Life being in major competition, Ants, with a Z, ended up becoming the first official animated movie for DreamWorks to be theatrically released. But it would have been a lot... I mean, Ants is pretty decent, but, I just think that Prince of Egypt is the better film, in my opinion. Plus, Prince of Egypt doesn't have Woody Allen, who's a creep. Hotep and Hoy are voiced by Steve Martin and Martin Short. Steve Martin Short? I actually thought when I heard the name Hotep, I thought it was spelled Imhotep, who was a real life priest. He's more than just a villain from The Mummy. Careful, she bites. That is so 90s, but it's actually it's a good line. And a very good performance. Like when I was 12, I didn't even know that this was Michelle Pfeiffer voicing Zipporah. And Michelle Pfeiffer was hot back then, and oh heck, she still looks good for her age. Ooh, Mummy don't approve. But yeah, it's like I really have to give Michelle Pfeiffer a lot of credit. I mean, for someone who pretty much had to use only her voice, she really does give the character such development. And I didn't even realize that the voice of Ramses was Ray Fiennes. Voldemort. I don't really care for Harry Potter. I'm just going to be completely honest. It's not my cup of tea. But I do like the actors. And I also did not know that, the late Val Kilmer was the voice of Moses. And I'll just talk about how great his performance is much later. Man, she must be pretty good when it comes to pretty much fooling people into making it look seductive. It sounded better in my head. I should have had more coffee. Oh, there she goes. what do I do? Do I rat her out? Now, I did say that a lot of there's there's been so many story horror stories of Val Kilmer having a reputation for being difficult to work with, but he actually it's like he actually wasn't so difficult when it came to Prince of Egypt, from what I heard. Like, let's see. I'm trying to find the quote. And yeah, I didn't know that was Sandra Bullock voicing Miriam. It's, of course, her voice is pretty recognizable now. And that's Jeff Goldblum as the voice of Aaron. Yeah, shoot. I can't seem to find a quote. But anyway, Katzenberg said that Val Kilmer was very easy to work with, and he was quite patient and generous with his time. What I think is funny is that Miriam is actually voiced by four people. Uh, there's Sandra Bullock as the speaking voice for Miriam. There's child actor Eden Regal providing the voice of a younger Miriam, and it is actually director Brenda Chapman who sings the lullaby in this scene. I told you that she has. I told you that Brenda Chapman has a lot of talent under her sleeve. And I'll tell you who the final voice is a bit later. And of course, other works that Eden Regal has worked on were she portrayed Bianca Montgomery in the daytime drama All My Children, and let's see what else. She's also a voice director, as she's worked on Amphibia, The Owl House, The Ghost and Molly McGee, Haley's on It, Zombies, the reanimated series, Primos, and Kif. She was also a choir member in Home Alone 2, and she was Sarah in American Pie, Lilith in Year One, and yeah, it's like that's the best I got. Because I'm just learning this all as I go. She was even played a character on Law and Order before Prince of Egypt. Now, Moses' singing voice is provided by Amit Bryam. And Amit Bryam is a two-time Grammy nominee. He's the co-founder and producing director of the American Coast Theater Company. And aside from Prince of Egypt, Amit Bryam has also contributed to Shrek, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, Lion King, Pocahontas, Hercules, Mulan, Pocahontas 2, The Road to El Dorado, and The Matrix. He's acted in numerous professional stage productions, including Phantom of the Opera on Broadway and Les Miserables as Jolly. But yeah, he's very much a Broadway star. He also played Ian Andrew Troy on Star Trek The Next Generation and has appeared on The Simpsons and Quincy M.E. I don't understand why Val Kilmer couldn't have done singing as Moses, but I guess he must not have been available at the time. Also, this dream sequence is pretty cool. I actually like that it looks like that the sequence is done as hieroglyphics. That's pretty creative and a good way to indicate that, oh yes, this is all a dream. Now, here's an ironic fact. Now, Prince of Egypt is banned in Malaysia, Maldives, and Egypt. Yeah, that is really ironic. Now, the production team and executive producer Jeffrey Katzenberg conferred with roughly 600 religious experts to make this movie as accurate and faithful to the original story as possible. After previewing the developing movie, all of the religious scholars, experts, and leaders associated in the making of this movie noted that the studio executives listened and responded to their ideas, and praised the studio for reaching out for comment from outside sources. Which I which I really do respect. Also, here's a funny fact. Since it was one of the most highly anticipated movies of 1998, it was sent to theaters under the title Edgar Allan to disguise the real title before the world premiere. Edgar Allan, as in Edgar Allan Poe, the author. Poe is spelled with P-O-E, which is also short for Prince of Egypt. That's pretty clever. And Prince of Egypt was the most expensive non-Disney animated theatrical movie ever made at the time, which was beaten out by Final Fantasy, The Spirits Within. Also, I should have mentioned this much earlier, but during the All I Ever Wanted sequence, Moses points a sickle to a wall with Egyptian engravings. If you look to the left of the sickle, you can see an engraving of how Moses looked as a child. And his eyes show he is reading the hieroglyphs right to left. This is accurate to the right to left direction that Egyptian hieroglyphs were usually written. I also learned when trying to look up all the character designers that have worked on this movie, that Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, who are best known for the Lego Movie and Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, were animators for Prince of Egypt. That actually blew my mind. I didn't even know that. Now, Queen Tuya is voiced by Helen Mirren. Like I said, I didn't know this until much later. And, actually it's a shame that she didn't get more scenes. Now, Tuya's singing voice is provided by Linda D. Shane. And I guess she's a singer, right? Unfortunately, there isn't a Wikipedia page about her. Also, here's a morbid fact. The statue of Anubis is seen at the beginning of the song "All I Ever Wanted." Anubis is the Egyptian god of death, and the 10th plague. Well, you'll find out if this is your first time watching it. Of course, why would it be your first time watching it? Why would you want to listen to my commentary if you were watching Prince of Egypt for the first time? Of course, this is the second or millionth time watching it. I get it. Also, the old man who's getting whipped and yelping constantly. Well, he's apparently voiced by one of the directors. I think it's Steve Hickner or Simon Wells. One of them is the voice of the old man. And according to the other directors, it's like apparently Steve Hickner did a good job voicing an old man. I mean, it's darkly hilarious knowing that one of the directors could do a good old man yelp. Also, this is another key difference in Prince of Egypt and Exodus is, well, apparently the slave master's death was not an accident. Apparently Moses straight up murdered him, which is what caused him to go into self-exile. Either way, it's impactful, and, it's understandable why Moses would feel guilty over this death, intentional or not, and it definitely works for the story in general. Put a gun against his head, pulled my trigger, now he's dead. Mama, life had just begun, but now I've gone and thrown it all away. I better stop, otherwise I'll be singing the rest of Bohemian Rhapsody. Okay, so like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of Harry Potter, but I like Ralph Fiennes, and his voice performance as Ramses is really great, as both the young Ramses and the older, ruthless Ramses. He gives a great performance. It's like Ralph Fiennes really does a great job to ensure that Ramses is more than just a one-dimensional jerk. There's humanity to him, and you feel sympathy for him. Yeah, Moses went a lot of miles. I think more than just 500 miles. Da 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 da. Also, here's an interesting fact. Before Patrick Stewart was cast as Seti, Jeremy Irons was considered for the role. And of course, you might know Jeremy Irons for voicing Scar in The Lion King. I know I do. Also, here's an interesting fact. Now, Ray Fiennes was in Schindler's List, and his character jokingly asks Oscar Schindler, "Who are you, Moses?" Which also co starred Ben Kingsley, who played the title role in Moses. I also think it's pretty funny that Val Kilmer and Christian Bale have both shared the role of Batman and Moses. As after playing Batman, Christian Bale would play Moses in Ridley Scott's Exodus, Gods and Kings. I've never watched it. I don't think I'll ever watch it. And it's funny. It's like Val Kilmer's the better Moses, while Christian Bale's the better Batman. At least that's my opinion. I bet that camel thought his hair tasted like crap. Yep. Also, yeah, Prince of Egypt and Ants are the only DreamWorks animation films to be released in the 20th century. Starting with Road to El Dorado and Chicken Run, all of that company's subsequent films were released in the 21st century. Yeah, why don't you go after your camels, fool? I feel a little woozy here. And I do the goofy holler, but I don't think it'd be appropriate. Also, here's a fun fact. Now, Ray Fiennes was considered for the title role in The Saint, which went to Val Kilmer. Now, before Michelle Pfeiffer was cast, Jennifer Aniston was considered for the role of Sephora. Oh, she's gonna get some payback. Also, this is the second film produced by Steven Spielberg, released in 1998. That's a remake after Deep Impact. Deep Impact was initially conceived by Spielberg as a remake of the film When Worlds Collide. And of course, The Prince of Egypt is a remake of the film The Ten Commandments, starring Charlton Heston. And of course, Jethro is voiced by Danny Glover. And a fun fact, before Danny Glover was cast as Jethro, James Earl Jones was considered for the role. Also, DreamWorks Prince of Egypt was DreamWorks' only winter season movie released in a month other than January, until How to Train Your Dragon 3. It was also DreamWorks' only movie to release in December until Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Now, Jethro's singing voice is provided by Brian Stokes Mitchell, who's not only a singer but also an actor, and he's best known for his powerful baritone voice and has been a central leading man of the Broadway theater since the 1990s. And he was even in Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street in 2002. He was also in Ghost Dad, and he also appeared in the Sunday scene from Tick Tick Boom starring Andrew Garfield. And I even found out he appeared on Night Court and also on an episode of Batman the Animated Series and Animaniacs. Who would have guessed? What were the odds? Also, DreamWorks. This was Prince of Egypt was the first DreamWorks animation film to ever be composed by Hans Zimmer, and the lyrics are provided by Stephen Schwartz. I guess I could tell about another interesting story of how I became familiar with Stephen Schwartz. Now, when I was in high school, when I was a freshman in high school, I joined concert choir, and for our finale for a concert, we decided to do a Disney medley kind of piece, and it featured a lot of songs from various Disney animated movies, including songs from Pocahontas and The Hunchback of Notre Dame, specifically songs like Topsy Turvy, Colors of the Wind, and God Help the Outcasts. And I learned that those three songs that I mentioned were written by Stephen Schwartz. He was the lyricist for Pocahontas and Hunchback of Notre Dame. I didn't know that he also did the lyrics for the songs to Prince of Egypt until I noticed a choir arrangement of When You Believe. And that's how I became familiar with, that's how I found out that, oh yeah, Stephen Schwartz worked on Prince of Egypt. And he's a master when it comes to musicals. Other things that he worked on when it came to musicals, he's worked on musicals such as Godspell, Pippin, and of course Wicked, which is a prequel to The Wizard of Oz. But yeah, he really started becoming popular with, I'll talk about his first work on an animated musical much later. But yeah, I really do like Stephen Schwartz. He's a very talented lyricist. And it's really great to know that Wicked got a successful adaptation. I'm very happy for the film's success. I think he was even the composer for Wicked, so that's a pretty big deal. I know how that feels. It's kind of funny knowing that Ray Fiennes was also considered for Batman, as not only would he collaborate with Val Kilmer on Prince of Egypt, over 2 decades later, Ray Fiennes would voice Alfred on the Lego Batman movie, and he's really funny in Lego Batman movie. He's a very funny Alfred Pennyworth. And so Moses meets God for the first time. It's in the Bible that God appears to Moses as a burning bush, and I really like that this burning bush looks otherworldly and yet calming at the same time, and it's quite beautiful. And it is, and of course, there's a legend that the voice of God is voiced by all the actors in a whispering voice to make God's appearance, quite ambiguous. But of course, the dominant voice is Val Kilmer voicing God. And I really do like Val Kilmer's performance as the voice of God. I mean, normally I imagine an epic, booming voice, not unlike James Earl Jones or Morgan Freeman as God. And Val Kilmer is a great voice for God. Look at me, a Catholic who's judging the voice of God. That should be fun to explain on the day of my judgment. So I'm just blown away by this scene because it's, beautifully animated, beautifully composed, and perfectly voiced. A promised land. ¿Y tú? I mean, some people might depict the reason Val Kilmer is voicing God is because God is the voice in Moses' head. So of course it would make sense that Val Kilmer would be the voice of God. I'm sorry, the music is getting me emotional because it's so beautiful. Hans Zimmer doesn't get enough praise for all the animation work that he's composed, especially since he won his first Oscar for The Lion King. It's really beautiful. That's a beautiful transition shot. Now, this particular scene of Moses telling Zipporah about how he met God is animated by a legendary British animator, that animator being James Baxter. Now, James Baxter has done animation for Disney and DreamWorks and Cartoon Network, and here, including Netflix. Here's all the animation that all the stuff I want to highlight. He was, and he did animation for Who Framed Roger Rabbit. He was Ariel's animator for The Little Mermaid alongside Glenn Keane. He was Belle's supervisor for Beauty and the Beast. He was the supervising animator for Rafiki in The Lion King, and he also animated several scenes with Scar and Simba. I think like the scene where Scar taunts Simba about Mufasa's death. He was the a character designer and visual development for Hunchback of Notre Dame and was the supervising animator for Quasimodo. He was the main animator for Moses. He was the senior supervising animator for Tulio in The Road to El Dorado. He was the senior supervising animator for the titular character in Spirit, Stallion of the Cimarron. He was also a supervising animator for Shrek 2. He was an animation director for the dream sequence in Kung Fu Panda. And he's done CG animation for DreamWorks. And he also did one particular piece of animation in the finale to Steven Universe, and he returned to Disney for the 2023 short Once Upon a Studio. So James Baxter is the man. He's one of my favorite Disney animators alongside Glenn Keane and Eric Goldberg. Ooh, some of those whips you could make tic-tac-toe out of. I'm sorry, that was too dark. My question is, how long did they travel all the way to Egypt? I would have to assume that Moses had been in exile from Egypt for probably, I think, less than 10 years in the movie. I mean, I think in the Bible it's a lot more than 10 years. I can't really explicitly say. Uh, bef- a shepherd. Now, before Steve Martin and Martin Short were considered for the role of Hotep and Hoy, Cheech Marin and Tommy Chong were considered for the role of Hotep and Hoy. Not only them, but apparently Rob Paulson and Jeff Bennett were also considered for the role of Hotep and Hoy. Now, isn't that crazy? But I'm glad that Steve Martin and Martin Short were the ones that were cast as Hotep and Hoy. And also, here's another fun fact: Steve Martin and Martin Short, who are friends in real life and have collaborated together on other films like Three Amigos and Father of the Bride. Uh, well, Martin and Short, Martin Short, Steve Martin Short. Oh man, that's so weird to say. But anyway, my point is, Steve Martin and Martin Short actually recorded their lines together. Now, isn't that interesting? Also, in the Bible, it was not Moses that turned his staff into a cobra to demonstrate the power of God. It was actually Moses' brother, Aaron. How interesting is that? It's not magic. Apparently, there's a legend that playing with the big boys was originally going to be like a Las Vegas magician show, but I'm glad they just went with this instead. And it's playing with the big boys, a pretty decent villain song. Ah, okay. I think here's the more accurate take on how Katzenberg got the boot from Disney. Now, Disney Studio in April 1994, Disney Studios president Frank Wells was killed in a helicopter crash. In fact, after his death, The Lion King was actually dedicated in his memory. Jeffrey Katzenberg assumed that Mike Eisner would appoint him as Wells' successor, but Eisner refused. The position of president of Disney would go to Michael Ovitz. In August of 1994, Mike Eisner called Katzenberg into his office and handed him a four-page memorandum about impending staffing changes, which included Katzenberg's immediate resignation. So I guess Jeffrey Katzenberg was forced to resign, but he technically got fired, kind of. It kind of depends on what your perspective is. But the process of making Prince of Egypt took 4 years. Also, it is amazing that Jeffrey Katzenberg decided to call in biblical scholars, Christian, Jewish, and Muslim theologians, and Arab American leaders to help his film be more accurate and faithful to the original story. Also, the filmmakers initially worked out of Amblin Entertainment's main offices on the Universal lot, but quickly outgrew them. And of course, that snake ate the other two snakes. It'd be so funny if Hotep and Hoy were like, "Hey, where'd our other snakes go?" And of course, one of the other storyboard artists was Ronnie Del Carmen. Ronnie Del Carmen has worked not only for DreamWorks, but also for Warner Brothers Animation and also Pixar. At Warner Brothers, he was a storyboard artist and character designer for Batman the Animated Series and for Freakazoid. He even illustrated a few Batman the Animated Series comic books. And at Pixar, he was the co-director of the first Inside Out. It's just pretty cool. Oof. I really like the sadness in Fiennes' voice as he comes to the realization that Moses comes back not as his brother, but as his opposer. And so we see the 5 stages of grief: denial, bargaining, anger, depression, and acceptance. Oof. Trying to carry the legacy of his father without being seen as weak. Not an easy task. Guess that means he's not welcome back in the palace. Play ball! Also, another key difference between Prince of Egypt and Exodus. It's, well, in the Bible, Aaron never doubted Moses at all. In fact, he was one of his biggest supporters. But of course, the Bible is open to interpretation, and I'm very open to the idea of the Bible being open to interpretation because it could. You never know what could have actually happened in the Bible. I mean, I like this idea that Aaron was at first skeptical and doubted Moses. It's understandable why he would doubt his own brother. I mean, Aaron has known nothing but suffering and slavery since he was born, and was lucky to have survived not being killed through slavery or by the mercy or lack thereof the guards. So of course, meanwhile, Moses got pampered as a prince and got spoiled. Of course he's going to resent his brother. Of course he's going to doubt him. I also like this idea that, since Jesus was raised by a Jewish couple, I like this idea that maybe Jesus was a Jewish son and most likely got married and had children of his own at a young age, especially since it's like Mary and Joseph, Jesus' parents, had children of their own after Jesus. I like this idea of Jesus being a Jewish son and having a family of his own. I really do like that, and I won't doubt it. I won't poo-poo it because the Bible's open to interpretation, and I'm open to this idea of that. Just like I'm open to the idea that maybe at first Aaron did doubt Moses due to their differing backgrounds, and it's understandable why, because it shows how human the both of them are. I'm sorry if I sound like a podcast regarding religion. And we have another famous scene coming up. Yeah, I guess Ramses' son sees Moses as the crazy uncle. I think we all got the crazy uncle. A beautiful shot. And, well, in the Bible, it was actually Aaron who placed the staff upon the Nile River and turned it into blood. Oof. It ain't tomato soup or tomato juice. And yeah, actually, it's pretty admirable that a PG animated movie featured so much blood in an animated movie. Because Hotep always carries red powder with him in case of emergencies of the Nile turning into blood. Let you know that is denial. But Why do I see powder? And God says, LOL, nope. Even Moses says, LOL, nope. Gee, that's comforting. Very comforting. Also, a fun fact, apparently Moses in real life was a stutterer. Did not know that. But yeah, like Aaron helped Moses with these wonders. Whoop, the geese have decided to yeet on out of there because they know what's about to happen. Hi-oh. Now, there's also a high likelihood that the plagues of Egypt also most likely affected other parts of the world, such as Rome and other countries that were close to Egypt, especially the blackness, which could have been caused by a coincidental a desert storm, hence the darkness and the fire coming down. Also, okay, this is going to sound morbid, but the Plague song might be my favorite song of the songs from Prince of Egypt. It's well written, well sung. I mean, it's a great hero versus villain duet. And we don't often get to, hero versus villain duet songs in animated musicals. Also, it's also fun fact. It's actually Ray Fiennes who is also singing Ramsey's singing lines. He's one of the few to actually do his own singing, and which is admirable. I mean, I think Ray Fiennes is a decent singer, underrated, and it works for the film. Will not let your people go. Timber! Also, here's a interesting fact. The whole Ramses sitting on one of the statues to hide away from Moses and his family is actually based on an old something that happened in Ronnie Del Carmen's childhood. Oftentimes, he and his brother would hide from their parents on the trees, for fun. which is kind of fun. This is actually a funny story. Fasted for 2 months. After all, brothers looked out for each other. And he had an opportunity to let the Israelites go at that point. Yeah, I don't like my Uncle Mo. The final plague. Oof, that backfired. Oof, you'll be eating those words in a few minutes. And to think this is from the same studio that did Shrek. And so we have the root of the Passover holiday. Now, the Passover, which is a Jewish holiday, commemorates the exodus of the Israelites from slavery in ancient Egypt, as told in the book of Exodus. The name Passover comes from God passing over the homes of the Israelites during the 10th plague, sparing the Hebrews' firstborn. And so the Passover holiday is celebrated for 7 or 8 days, and usually the food that is eaten during Passover is like a matzah ball, charoset, which is symbolized. The matzah balls represent the unleavened bread that the Hebrews ate during Exodus. Other foods that are eaten as the charoset. It's a traditional Jewish food that symbolizes the mortar used by Jewish slaves to build bricks in ancient Egypt. gefilte fish. Originally, the fish is a traditional starter served at Passover and other holidays. Roast chicken, roasted potatoes, brisket, potato kugel, or is it kugel, brisket again, macaroons, matzo pizza, rack of lamb, which is the traditional Passover food that symbolizes the sacrifice offered by the Israelites, cauliflower, charo set salad, chicken soup, flourless chocolate cake, Hanukkah brisket, so that's 3 types of brisket, karpas, latkes, which is traditionally served during Hanukkah, a matzo brie, baked salmon, candied sweet potatoes, carrots, chicken and potatoes, and chocolate caramel macarons. So that's 3 types of brisket and 2 types of macarons. It's quite a delicious Passover dinner. I mean, I'm sure that it's one specific meat for each day. And also, after the firstborn are killed, you see the constellation of Orion. And, well, I really have to respect Prince of Egypt for really not sugarcoating this. They straight up showed the deaths of the firstborn, even the death of Ramses' son. It's sadly tragic, and it doesn't. It's never sugarcoated, and it's played seriously and played maturely. It's very well done. And I think this is a kind of film that'll toughen a kid up, but, it'll make them appreciate the film even more. And I really do like how, after the death of the firstborn, it takes such a toll on Moses that he's so devastated and he ends up crying because of it. And it's understandable why. I mean, yes, the Israelites are free, but at what cost? And it weighs heavily on Moses' conscience. It's just definitely one of my favorite details. They should have waited a few, maybe 2 more minutes before transitioning to When You Believe. But When You Believe is still a beautiful song. And Miriam's singing voice is provided by Sally Dworsky. And not only is she a singer, she's also a songwriter and playback singer, specifically in animated movies. And not only was Sally Dworsky the singing voice of Miriam, she was also the singing voice of adult Nala in The Lion King, one of the young brides in Mulan. She was also Princess Fiona's singing voice in Shrek. I did not know this. And that's actually kind of cool. And also, Michelle Pfeiffer is the one who provides Zipporah's singing voice. One of the few actors to actually do this. And yeah, I think Michelle Pfeiffer has a lovely singing voice. She's very good she's a very good singing voice. It's quite beautiful. And very good harmonies. And the original lyrics was for the chorus to When You Believe was going to be you can do miracles when you believe, but it was changed to there can be miracles when you believe to avoid the implication that you, not God, can work miracles. I do like, the lyric, there can be miracles when you believe. It's optimistic, and it's shows why you should have faith in God. And this song got so popular that it ended up winning the Oscar for Best Original Song at the Academy Awards, beating out songs like I Don't Want to Miss a Thing. And there's a reason why. It's definitely one of the best ballads of the song. It's definitely that's definitely part of the film's legacy. What is it? Yes. Here's the English translation for Ashira lo do Nike ga o ga'a mi sha mo sha ba ilim adon nai and mi sha mo cha ne darbo kadesh and nachi tav achaste sha amzuga alta. This is the English translation. Sorry for botching the Hebrew text, but here's the English translation. I will sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. Who is like you, O Lord, among the celestials? Who is like you, majestic in holiness? In your love you lead the people you redeemed. Now that's beautiful. And I'm glad it was kept. Just one swim away from the promised land. You can relax now. And I think you've earned it. That ain't a celebration horn. That's a warning horn. Because Ramses does not play fair. Ramses letting out a Voldemort yell. That fire came out like a jack-in-the-box. That should be a good aversion for now. Okay, I have a confession to make. I actually haven't watched The Ten Commandments starring Charlton Heston, but I know of its reputation and how it's a grand epic when it comes to the telling of Exodus. And The effects to bring to life the parting of the sea hold up to this day. Also, here's a cool fact: the special effects supervisor also did the special effects for The Invisible Man, starring Claude Rains. And it's funny because Invisible Man's author, H.G. Wells, his great grandson, co-directed Prince of Egypt. So I guess that kind of comes full circle. And of course, this sequence of Moses parting the sea pretty much almost rivals the Ten Commandments movie because of how beautiful and epic it is. Especially with CG that I think holds up surprisingly well 27 years later. And I actually like that Aaron is the first to follow Moses, which really shows their relationship having grown and bloomed much better. Now, the 4-minute parting of the Red Sea sequence took 10 animators 2 years to complete, which makes sense. I mean, I guess filming must have begun in 96 and, or maybe between 1995 and 1996. So it makes sense that it would take 2 years to complete. And my goodness, it holds up. And I really love the blending of traditional animation with the CG animation. And bagosh, that is a megalodon. A megalodon, which makes sense because this takes place in the 13th century BC. So, of course, a megalodon would most likely be around during that time. Translation, charge! And of course, Prince of Egypt would not be the last DreamWorks animated movie that Ray Fiennes would work on, as years later he would voice. Hold on, let me. As years later, Ray Fiennes would voice Lord Victor Quatermain in Wallace and Gromit: The Curse of the Were-Rabbit for DreamWorks. So that's 2 animated films that he did for DreamWorks. We're blasting off away again! Okay, not again, but... Quite a watery end for Pharaoh Ramses. They are amazed. Like I said, that is such good CG. What can I say except you're welcome? I actually do like the shot of Moses wishfully thinking that Ramses is still out there screaming for Moses. And it's sadly tragic. Like I said, wishful thinking. But he understands that that life of Egypt is over. And it's going to take them 40 years to get to the promised land. I'm not kidding, of course. I love these background shots. They're just beautiful. And it was actually Steven Spielberg's idea. He suggested that the movie end with Moses carrying the Ten Commandments. So, yeah, we have Spielberg to thank for this quite epic ending. It is a well done, it's a very nicely animated shot. But yeah, I wish I had something to say, but this is just so epic. Right up there with The Lion King. And of course, one more fact. I just want a couple more facts. Now, of course, the movie ends with the credits with a pop ballad version of When You Believe, sung by the late Whitney Houston and Mariah Carey. And allegedly, apparently, Houston and Carey did not get along with each other when they recorded this together, but it looks like they must have eventually made peace, because I think Mariah Carey looks back on When You Believe with fond memories. And yeah, this is a beautiful duet cover. And of course, after Prince of Egypt, DreamWorks would attempt to do like another follow-up. Katzenberg wanted to do more biblical stories of the Bible, like maybe prequels and follow-ups. And one of those prequels and follow-ups was Joseph, King of Dreams, which is the official prequel to Prince of Egypt that focuses on the tale of Joseph, son of Jacob, who was, formed a relationship with Egypt in the beginning. And this was very much a prequel to Prince of Egypt. And some of the character designers and other animators worked on Joseph, King of Dreams. And what's even funnier is that Ben Affleck voiced Joseph in that prequel. So that's another Batman actor. And even had Mark Hamill, the Joker. And yeah, Katzenberg was hoping that this would be like a biblical animated movie series, kind of an anthology series if you stop and think about it. But and this was also the first time DreamWorks Animation ever worked on something released straight to video and DVD. But those plans eventually fell through, and Prince of Egypt and Joseph, King of Dreams would end up being the only biblical animated media that DreamWorks would end up working on. Because, well, DreamWorks started focusing on films like Shrek due to the smash success. But if you want my opinion, about Prince of Egypt. I think it's one of the best DreamWorks movies, and definitely one of the best animated movies of all time. It's definitely one of my favorites. It's underrated. It's beautifully animated, beautifully voiced, a great interpretation to the story of Moses. This is a great story to introduce to your children, and I enjoy watching this every Easter or Passover. It's kind of a tradition for me. It's definitely one of the best. It's one of my favorites, and I think, like I said, Val Kilmer did such a great job as Moses. I mean, I just want to, it's like, he does such a great, for someone who was inexperienced with voice acting, Val Kilmer did such a great job. It's like he does a great job portraying Moses at first as a cocky, arrogant prince, and he does such a great job evolving the character into a more mature and humble person who becomes confident enough to lead the Hebrews out of Egypt. And he gives them such humanity, and he has such great chemistry with Michelle Pfeiffer and Ray Fiennes. He really did give a very great voice performance. And, well, like I said, I'm quite saddened with his death. It's like the one comfort I can take is that Val Kilmer is no longer in pain, and he's no longer suffering. And rest in peace, Val Kilmer. You were a great Moses, in my opinion. But yeah, that's Prince of Egypt. Definitely one of my favorite DreamWorks animated movies. I mean, it deserves the same equal love that Shrek gets. I mean, it's definitely the essential for DreamWorks animation. Like, I think of it as a rite of passage. If you're a fan of DreamWorks, Prince of Egypt is an essential rite of passage when getting into DreamWorks animation. But yeah, that's my audio commentary companion for Prince of Egypt. I enjoyed talking about it, and I hope you enjoyed listening to it. Anyway, happy Passover. Be sure to like and subscribe. Don't have a good day. Have a great day.